Well, each and every year we like to look back at the NFL Draft. We just wrapped up the 2015 version in Chicago, where Reese Senior Bowl Executive Director Phil Savage was in the Windy City for rounds 2 and 3. Phil, give me your general impressions. The Senior Bowl certainly made another major impact on the NFL Draft.
Yeah, from a Reese's Senior Bowl standpoint, 30 of 32 organizations took at least one player from the game. 35 of the first 99 choices, which means covers the first 3 rounds, were Reese's Senior Bowl players, and then over 40% of the first 4 rounds were players that participated here in Mobile. So, I thought that from a player personnel standpoint, obviously a lot of evaluations take place here at our game.
A lot of juniors in this draft, as it has been the last couple of years, but our seniors making an impact. We're going to break these evaluations down by round. We'll start with the first round today, obviously. And the first guy off the board who participated down here in Mobile was Danny Shelton from the University of Washington.
Yeah, Danny Shelton, a big defensive tackle, and of course taken by the Cleveland Browns at pick 12. And this is a team that was 32nd in the league in run defense. They needed to bolster the interior of their defensive line, and they got a good player in Danny Shelton.
Yeah, he had a great week down here in Mobile. Now we have these categories. I'll have you explain a couple of these. Senior Bowl bump. Kind of self-explanatory, but Senior Bowl bump.
Yeah, the player that got the biggest bump in terms of his participation here and jumping on the radar. And in the first round, there's no doubt in my mind, it was Demarius Randall, the safety from Arizona State. Began his career as a junior college baseball player, then transferred to a second junior college to play football, ended up at ASU for 2 years. He's from just down the road in Pensacola, Florida. He sat in this room for our local media day in advance of the Reese's Senior Bowl, and there's no way anybody could have forecast him as a first rounder in January, but after his week here, he showed the ability to cover not only as a safety, but as a potential corner. And Green Bay is going to try him at defensive corner to begin with, but he'll probably see him in the slot a good bit for the Packers next year.
Probably a third-round pick when he started the pre-draft process?
I would think so, at best.
So he made some money.
He did money.
All right, who provides immediate help out of that first-round group?
Well, the New Orleans Saints took Stephon Anthony, the inside linebacker from Clemson, and this is an area where the Saints could use some help, somebody that can stabilize the interior of their defense, show some leadership, be a signal caller. I think Stephon Anthony, who was very productive at Clemson, can get on the field right away and really be the main signal caller for the New Orleans Saints.
Okay, out of our Reese's Senior Bowl picks in the first round, best value. Everybody in the NFL loves a value pick. Who is our value pick?
Well, my favorite pick of the first round from a personal standpoint was Laken Tomlinson, the guard from Duke. I mean, this is a young man who immigrated from Jamaica, was walking around barefooted in the streets of Chicago, was discovered, ended up at a magnet school, recruited to Duke, 4-year starter. He's a pre-med student, double major in Durham, North Carolina. And this is a player that came here and he blocked Danny Shelton. He stood tall with Carl Davis from Iowa. So I think Laken Tomlinson is going to be a plug-in-and-play starter for the Detroit Lions from day one.
And your last category is the spotlight pick. First, tell us what the spotlight pick is and then who it is for the first round.
Well, the spotlight pick is a choice where people are like, oh, that's interesting, or wow, that was different than what we thought. And the Indianapolis Colts took Philip Dorsett, who had a sensational week here in Mobile, the wide receiver from Miami. Now, he brings back memories, or he's similar to T.Y. Hilton, who the Colts already have running down the slot and down the seam. So they're going to have almost a track team. They're going to have the fastest 4x100 relay unit in the NFL. But they add Philip Dorsett, and there's going to be a lot of focus on him in terms of, okay, how are they going to utilize Hilton and Dorsett? They signed Andre Johnson. They drafted Dante Moncrief a year ago out of Ole Miss. So Andrew Luck has a collection, a variety of wide receivers to throw the football to in 2015.
And Dorsett, in some ways, also could have been under that Senior Bowl bump category. He certainly had a good week here and has the buzz going on.
Yeah, no question. I think he came to Mobile as probably a second-round type of value, and he elevated himself into the conversation as a first-rounder, and ultimately he goes to Indy.
So that's the first round, and we're going to continue to break down the draft here at SeniorBowl.com. Obviously, coming up next, the second round.